everybody, and welcome to CWK Live on Facebook every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I am your host, Dan Z, excited to chat with you about the world of Star Wars and to enjoy the fun that we have in this incredible community. Again, I'm Dan Z. Thanks again for joining us every Monday night. It's awesome to be able to share this powerful CWK community that we have together in Coffee with Kenobi's Facebook group, CWK Cafe, as well as on our Facebook page, Coffee with Kenobi. Of course, again, thanks for joining us every Monday night at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. Tonight is going to be fun. Hello, Jim. Hello, everybody. Ross says he's had a broken AC unit for 2 days. Ross, I empathize, man, especially with the humidity. That is no good. He says he's visiting from Mustafar until it's fixed by the Hoth Patrol in the morning. I hope the Hoth Patrol comes quickly. May your tauntauns do not freeze up. JC, good to see you, man. Tim, hello. Tyler wants to know if everybody's been playing Episode 1 Racer on the Switch. I don't have the Switch. If we did, I'm sure that we would, because I know that's been really fun for a lot of people. Hello, Mary. It looks like people have been doing their homework. As Ross said, he's got a list prepared. He's going to cut and paste. And it looks like LJ did the same thing. Happy CWK Day to you too, Minta. I am excited for this. It's going to be a fun list. Oh yeah, Jared. This is definitely a thing. Every Monday night, happy to chat with you. It's going to be a blast. It says the mic. Oh, the mic might be a little bit low. Well, let me fix that for you. Thanks for letting me know. Okay. Ross, let me know how the sound is. Today we're going to, again, we've got a big show. We're going to do our top 5 favorite bounty hunters from the world of Star Wars, and this was a fun one to research, no doubt about that. And then we're going to go over Chapter 6 of the Rise of Skywalker novelization. So be thinking about this as we progress through the show. So Mason and I were talking about what should the top 5 be for next week, and we talked about top 5 favorite Star Wars movies out of the 11 existing. So that might be one to think about. So we're going to debate that one. Michael is a huge Vader fan. Well, Michael, welcome. Vader is my favorite character from the world of Star Wars, so I am with you there, brother. Absolutely. Look, I shaved, no facial hair. I'm back to being a little guy again. How about that, everybody? Again, let's just jump right into this thing, okay? Your top 5 favorite bounty hunters from the world of Star Wars. Okay, so for my list, and I'm not sure what a lot of you else did, LJ says it sounds better now. Good deal. I'm glad I had to adjust something on the mic, and now we're definitely cooking. With my, what I did is I tried to go by a lot of things. I went by the look of the bounty hunters. I looked at their impact on Star Wars, whatever their respective role is and whatever story that they are telling, design, the costume, and just overall cool factor. So, and there's a lot of them to choose from. There are a lot of them to choose from. So I want to give Mason's number 5 first, and then I'll give mine number 5. And I promised Mason I would give him the picture, so very good. So Mason's number 5 is Boushh, of course, from Return of the Jedi. There's actually a great Forces of Destiny where they show how Chewie and Leia get the Boushh costume with the help of Maz Kanata, so I highly recommend that. It is canonical, but that Mason's number 5 is Boushh. My number 5, I had to look at my list to make sure, is Asajj Ventress. So Ventress is one of my favorite characters, but after she leaves the clutches of Dooku, and if you haven't heard the audiobook Dooku Jedi Lost by one of our sponsors, Penguin Random House Audio, I highly recommend it. Of course, the Dr. Afro one is coming out very, very soon. But the Dooku Jedi Lost is told from Ventress's point of view, basically, because she finds these old journals and entries of Dooku and goes through his entire history. But after she leaves him, she becomes a bounty hunter for a while, and you see that in the Ahsoka arc at the end of season 5 when she leaves the Jedi Order, and it's really, really powerful. She's a very captivating bounty hunter for sure. And in Dark Disciple, the novel, she's a bounty hunter as well. So Tyler's number 5 is Embo. I think we're going to hear a lot about Embo tonight. Jim says Embo. Mary says Boushh is my number 5 as well. Yay, Mason. Very good. See, I love it. LJ says, hear me out, guys. Let me try to move this around so I can actually see what he's saying. He says, this is only particularly in just number 5, Toro Calican. There aren't many of us in Team Toro or even the Calican crew, but we are a devoted fan base. It is fun to see a guy so hopelessly in over his head. Yeah, be totally sure of himself. Unfortunately, fake it till you make it didn't work out for him. That is very true. Very true. Tim's number 5 is Bosque. Awesome. I love Bosque. Tyler says, it's a great novel. I actually read the script instead of listening to it. As someone who took theater, it was really cool to read that way. Yeah. Oh, for sure. One thing about, if you do listen to it ever, Tyler, is that all the voice actors are great and just very, very interesting the way they do some of the vocals and some of the accents for some of the characters in Dooku Jedi Lost. Minta says number 5 is also Asajj Ventress. There you go. Ross said IG-11. We had a hard time with that one, Ross, because, well, Ross says, who doesn't love the classic redemption story of a bounty hunter turned nurse droid? So Nathan and I were debating IG-11, and we decided all the action where he has been reprogrammed doesn't count because he's not a bounty hunter, then he's a nurse droid. We just had to base it on episode 1 of The Mandalorian. But even then, it's hard. I'm curious, Ross, how you did yours list as well. Blake says IG-88. Never forgot as a kid wondering how he would be as a bounty hunter. And Blake, I'm sure you know this, and you've probably seen it, but in Galaxy's Edge, have you seen that some of the taps are IG-88 units tops or the heads of the actual bounty hunter droids themselves? It's what some of the tappers are, so that's pretty cool. In the cantina at Galaxy's Edge. Tyler's number 5 is Boba Fett, but his Clone Wars arc was more than his original appearance. Fair enough. I'm just going to say right now, I do not have Boba Fett on my list. Look, if we're doing top 5 characters, like action figures, I've said this before, Boba Fett is my number 1 of any action figure ever. I think he's the coolest looking bounty hunter. Personally, Episode 2 changed how I looked at Boba Fett. Even Return of the Jedi, to a degree, how he is in the special edition with the smiling and the flirting. That, to me, that's not Boba Fett. Boba Fett is cooler, and Empire was just silent and dangerous and deadly. That's how I like Boba Fett. And while it got a little better in the Clone Wars stuff, I don't know. It just, Boba Fett, I think he looks cooler than he is. But again, that's just my opinion. I know a lot of people love him. And I can promise you, anytime there's a version of that action figure, especially the old Kenner ones, I'm going to try to get it because I love that one so much. All right. So that's my number 5. So number 4, Mason's number 4 is Embo. Embo's got, of course, a great look, a great design. He's super cool. And his helmet is also functional and helps him in survival, so that's pretty cool. So Embo is one that I think a lot of people also share as their number 4, or somewhere in their lists, and we've already seen it actually. My number 4 is Jango Fett. Now, Jango Fett to me is someone who, I mean, the clones are modeled after him. He more than lives up to his reputation. His battle sequence on Kamino with Obi-Wan Kenobi is spectacular. And he's just slick. Like, even though it's the same armor as Boba's, I just like the look. Tamira Morrison is super cool. Just very, very slick. So, and when I met Tamira Morrison, he was a gentleman and he was a really cool guy. So that impacted it too for whatever reason. Minta has Embo as number 4. Jim has Cad Bane as his number 4. And Minta and Jim, feel free to weigh in on this, any of you, really. But when you look at the list, there's a lot more bounty hunters than I realized, but not as many as I thought, if that makes sense. Tyler pulls out a deep cut. He says, Dirge from 2003 Clone Wars. Mason and I recently watched that. Dirge is a very, very cool, and I had thought about putting him on there. Tyler says, Clone Wars, Cad Bane. Love it. Tim also says Cad Bane. Mary has a tie between Jango and Boba Fett. I think this might be the first time we've ever had in our top 5s on Facebook Live. Well, that's cool. LJ's got Ventress. Not a bounty hunter for long, but she may be the only Force-sensitive bounty hunter in canon now. So that has to count for something. I love getting more of her in Jedi Lost and Dark Disciple. Agreed. That's why I agree, LJ, and that's why she was my number 5. I love Ventress. I think she's a great character. Ross, who I knew was going to bring a lot of deep cuts, as we can always count on him to do so. Baylor Valance. Just read the new Bounty Hunters comic Marvel series. Reminds me of Jonah Hex DC Comics when I was a kid. I'm enjoying getting to learn more about him each month. Very cool, yeah. So hopefully some of you are getting some of your inspiration from the Bounty Hunter comic book series. I know Ross had as well. And that's great. I mean, it's a fantastic series with some amazing creatives behind there. Blake's number 4 is Bosque. Hearing him snarl at the Imperial officer in The Empire Strikes Back was so cool. It was cool. Also improvised so that on set so that they would kind of get the point across that the Empire didn't like the disorder of bounty hunters and how they were just allowed to run rampant in the galaxy. So I think that adds kind of a nice wrinkle to the whole, we want things to be neat, tidy, and ordered because we're the Empire or the First Order. All right, so that was number 4. I love it. Your lists are great as always. Everybody, keep them coming. Number 3 for Mason, and I actually didn't put a picture of this one on. Maybe you can see it on my drink, but it's Boba Fett. Boba Fett, of course, the classic Boba Fett. Hard to argue again with that armor, with that great, wonderful design. Boba Fett is tops on many people's lists, and rightfully so. An amazing creation. Originally sort of thought of as a super trooper. Joe Johnston and Lucas and everyone, and Lawrence Kasdan and everyone helping to create that amazing look of that character. And, it's one we'll never forget for sure. My number 3 is also Bosque. When I first saw Bosque, and again, the Kenner action figure, which of course influences so many of the things for me, Bosque is just a terrific looking creature. He's a Trandoshan. We learn a lot more about him in Clone Wars. We also learn there's a great novel that came out when Rebels came out. I think I've got it here. Yeah. It's called, and hopefully you can see it, but it's Ezra's Gamble. It's like a young adult book written by Ryder Wyndham, who's a great author. But Bosque and Ezra team up, and it's the most fleshed out and human Bosque has ever been, and that highly influenced me to pick him as a character again. Plus, the look is just spectacular. So I highly recommend this novel. It came out back in 2014, but it's still certainly available everywhere. But that is one of the reasons why I like Bosque. And again, the look is great. Is really, really great. Okay, so let's see what everybody else has right here. Let's see. LJ wants to know if I'm drinking a White Claw. No, this is from Igloo. They sent this to me when they started doing their Star Wars stuff. It is full of ice water, LJ. Sorry to disappoint you, my friend. It is not a White Claw. You don't drink in Facebook Live. Don't you know that, buddy? Tyler's got Cad Bane. He's got the coolest hat in the galaxy. Indeed, he does. He is awesome. I was hoping to see more of him in the new season. We did not, but he is great. Tyler says, Din Djarin. Hope I spelled that right. He can take you in warm or cold. And I bet Corey would put him as his number 1, too. Yeah, Din Djarin hasn't shown up yet, but we're getting up there in the top 5. This is number 3, so undoubtedly he's going to start showing up. Din Djarin, of course, for those of you who maybe aren't aware, is the Mandalorian. Mintas has Aura Singh. She was not someone you wanted to cross paths with. That is true. That is very true. She is not a nice person. She helps to train and shape Boba Fett as well. Mary's number 3 is Ventress for the same reasons as LJ. Jim's number 3 is Ventress for all the reasons that I mentioned. Very good. I'm glad to see Ventress getting so much love because she's awesome. Blake says, Jango Fett. I'd known Boba Fett for years, but seeing his father in that silver Mando armor and dual pistols blew me away at 13. Absolutely agree. He's just got an extra bit of cool to him. LJ says, Bosque. I thought he was cool since I saw him in Empire and love the old Kenner figure. Absolutely. No doubt about that. Tim's number 3 is IG-88. LJ meant 3, not 2. No worries, buddy. We knew. We got you. Ross says, Aura Singh. What didn't she do? Romantically involved with Hondo. That's right. I forgot about a sniper in Beggar's Canyon during the Boonta Eve Classic. Helped train Boba Fett. And her fate was revealed in Solo: A Star Wars Story. And she worked with number 2 on my list. Oh, there you go. There's a tease. Very good. Yeah, we'll try not to mock LJ. Just kidding. I can't promise that. It's fun. It's fun to tease your friends. Absolutely. All right. Interesting. Something that was said earlier. Oh, I'm making this list is kind of helping me to think about where we want to go with next week's top 5. So remind me of that at the end. But I think the Aura Singh idea is what kind of inspired that for me. And you know what else? Mason and I debated this a lot. We wanted to put Hondo Ohnaka as a bounty hunter. I mean, really, he's not. He's a pirate. I mean, he does things for money as bounty hunters do. But he kind of follows his own whims and caprice. So he wasn't. If Hondo was a full-fledged bounty hunter, he'd be my number 1 easily. But he's not on there. So, okay. All right, so that was my number 3. Now we're down to the number 2s. I'll just put it back. Mason's number 2, whoops, is also Bosque. So I'm sure similar reasons, but I mean, how could you not love Bosque? He looks so cool. My number 2 is Din Djarin, the Mandalorian. Obviously, he's got the most substance because we've had the most time with him. Because you've got 8 episodes, and you have to really delve into his psyche and what makes him tick. And you saw his humanity start to raise as we got higher and higher along in the episodes of the first season of The Mandalorian. Very excited for season 2. Beginning to know his humanity, knowing he's not just some gun-for-hire gunslinger without a lot to him. He's got substance. Obviously, the design, again, the classic Boba Fett / Jango Fett Mandalorian armor design. There's just something about that silver and the Beskar that really hits home. He's just incredibly cool. More well-rounded than any of them. Just really, really great stuff. Okay, very good. So it looks like we've got a lot of weigh-ins here. Jim, we've done top 5s for all the Stormtrooper designs. What about overall costume designs? Oh, that is a good one. Overall costumes. I like that. I'm going to write that down. Overall costumes. And Jim, if we don't do that one soon, we'll do it in the very, very near future because I really like that. Tyler says Hondo doesn't take orders. He does what he does for himself, and that is exactly right. Jim's number 2 is also Din Djarin. Well, there you go. And Mary's also Din Djarin. Hondo is a top 5 scoundrel, LJ says. I agree with that. Ooh, top 5 scoundrels. I might write that down too. Scoundrels. I like the sound of that. Very good. LJ is number 2. Also, Mando Din Djarin. I know it's early to have him on here, but, well, not necessarily. But I know I've had the same consequence. I'm like, well, should I put him on? We've only known him for like 6 months. Well, a little longer than that. But I know what you're saying. But I that's why I put him so high on mine as well. We spent more time with him than any other character in Star Wars. With his shiny Beskar to his code, he's one of the most interesting characters that we've seen. I agreed. And if I didn't know that you'd already written these and copied and pasted them, LJ, I would think you were plagiarizing my theories. Just kidding. I love teaching, LJ. I love having fun with my friends. And it's so great, again, to chat with all of you. Speaking of all of you, Tyler says number 2, Jango Fett. Agree with Dan. Boba just doesn't do anything for me. I love seeing Jango actually go up against Obi-Wan and more than hold his own. Exactly. Without the Force, he held his own against one of the most powerful Jedi out there in history, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Tim has Boba Fett at number 2. Excellent. Tyler has Ventress, and I hope to hop off. Oh, I have to hop off, so Embo is my number 1. Real best. Cool, Tyler. And hey, anytime you get a chance, this will be available for you on Facebook. It'll be on Instagram, and it'll be on YouTube for you to go back and revisit anytime you want, buddy. But thank you so much for contributing and for weighing in. We really appreciate it. Ross's number 2 is Cad Bane. Nothing is too big for him, and he's always thinking 3 steps ahead. He's just an incredibly cool and ruthless character. You bet. He sure is. Minta's number 2, Cad Bane. He was considered the Clint Eastwood of the galaxy, minus having morals. That's for sure. That is for sure, Minta. Good choice. Blake's number 2 is Boba Fett. His look and mystery has kept him a fan and personal favorite for 40 years. And I think I would like Fett even more if there was more of that mystery too. So that's good. Great minds do think alike. And I take that as a big compliment, my friend. Thank you very much, with a wise fellow like yourself. All right, very good. So it's time for number 1. Number 1. So Mason's number 1 is Jango Fett. And from the first second I mentioned a top 5 bounty hunters, Mason said to me right away, Jango Fett's my favorite. In fact, Jango Fett is I think your favorite character in all things Star Wars. So that's great. And who doesn't love a Jango Fett? My number 1, I'm looking down just to make sure I pull up the right picture, is Cad Bane. I thought for a hot minute about putting Din Djarin as number 1, but as with all of my top lists, I always go with what I've had for the longest amount of time in my life. And from the moment I heard Cad Bane, voiced, I believe, by Corey Burton, I was just enraptured with this character. His voice is incredibly cool, just the right amount of digitization, but it's menacing and kind of gravelly and deep. He can also exude sarcasm and charisma. The hat is great. The breathing apparatus, his skill, the fact that he's more than a match for Jedi and more than holds his own and is a real legitimate challenge in video games, too. I think Cad Bane is just one of the coolest characters, period. He's just fantastic. Tim's number 1, Din Djarin. Love it. LJ also Cad Bane. Awesome. He's everything I wanted Boba Fett to be after seeing him in Empire. Ruthless, cunning, and so cool. You know what? LJ, I'm going to take that and use that as my own. That's another reason why I love Cad Bane as well. Mary's number 1, Cad Bane. Jim's number 1, similar to Mason, is Jango Fett, mostly because of the 2002 Bounty Hunter video game. It's Legends, but it's a great story of how he's recruited for the Clone Army. Ooh, good call. What a good story that is. Tyler's number 1, Din Djarin. He's the character that made me interested in Mandalorians. You know what? I agree with that. That's a good call, Tyler. Minta also Din Djarin. He has an incredible background as well as amazing combat skills. Furthermore, he's learning how to be a dad. Exactly. That well-rounded humanity that he has, plus he's fierce, is pretty great. Ross's number 1, Asajj Ventress. In top 5 of all-time Star Wars characters, from slave to Padawan to assassin and Sith apprentice, to Night Sister to bounty hunter who puts Boba Fett in his place, to lover and savior of Quinlan Vos, then recognized and honored by the Jedi Council. Family and found family are so important in Star Wars, and she found hers too late. She's such a beautiful, tragic story. That is very, very well said, Ross. Very, very eloquent. Yes, all of what Ross said. And she has had quite a cycle, and you got to read Dark Disciples. If you haven't, it's a critical part of the Clone Wars storyline. It is canonical, of course, and it helps finish up Ventress' arc in a really satisfying way. Blake's number 1, Din Djarin. He's also just my favorite character, period. He's a space cowboy I've related to more than any other Star Wars character since the original trilogy. Oh, cool. I'm glad it's had that kind of an impact on you, my friend. Din Djarin is great. All these are great. I love seeing your lists and hearing that. The big thing to me is always the reasons why people pick things and their rationale behind what they do and why they do it. So that is fantastic stuff. Okay, so we've got a couple of options for our top 5 next week. The one I was thinking about is taking a different spin. Top 5 least favorite Star Wars characters. Top 5 least favorite Star Wars characters. We obviously love Star Wars, or we wouldn't be doing this every week and listening to podcasts and buying the merchandise and going to the films and all that great stuff. But Ross says, fun list, everyone. Yes, I agree. Thank you, Ross, LJ, Blake, Minta, everybody who contributed here, Tyler, all of you, and just wonderful. My apologies if I didn't mention everybody. Let's see, Tyler, Jim, Mary, LJ, Tim. I think I got everybody here. Tyler, Tim, all of you. These are great. Mason, for preparing and getting these done. These are only as fun as your contributions, and I don't want to hear myself babble. I want to hear all of you talk and hear all of your feedback. So that is great. That's why CWK Live on Facebook is so much fun. Oh, I've got someone knocking on the door of my studio. This is a little unprecedented. Hold on.
I need to talk to them.
We've got a guest host who wants to say something. Go ahead.
I know what we should do for our next top 5.
What?
Top 5 lightsaber duels.
I think we did that one already, didn't we?
We did?
Yeah, did we do top 5 lightsaber duels?
No.
Yeah, because remember we had the ones from Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff like that. That's a fun one.
No.
What do you think?
I don't remember that.
Is it pizza delivery? Oh no, do you have pizza? Tyler wanted to know if it was pizza delivery day. No. I really think. Thanks for coming by, big guy. You want to stick around, or you want to go watch?
Doesn't matter.
Okay. I think what we'll do is up to you.
Whatever you want.
Okay. I think what we'll do is we will do top 5 least favorite characters, and that's because. This isn't a time to bash or be negative or cynical or critical, because that's not what we do on Coffee with Kenobi anyway. What it is a chance for you to express what doesn't work for you about something. And I think that's an important element of constructive criticism. There's no bigger red flag for me than when someone loves everything Star Wars. Because, and red flag might be a strong term, but when I say that, what I mean is, hey, if you like everything, then where's the bar? Like how can we kind of find that ground for you? Because if you say no, it makes your yes more powerful when it comes to constructive criticism and being a literary critic. So I think we're going to do that. Top 5 least favorite characters. I can already think of my top 2 that are my least favorites. Doesn't mean they're not great characters. They might be someone else's favorite characters, and that's great. So this is a bit of a departure from what we usually do in Coffee with Kenobi, but I'm convinced, because we're an intelligent, intellectual, analytical community, that we can find constructive ways to say what doesn't work for us about certain characters. So what do you think? Like that stuff? LJ says, yeah, it might be fun to poke fun at some characters. I like that idea. Very good. I'm going to close the door to the studio. Okay, sorry about that. Tyler wants to know was pizza delivery when Mason showed up. That was a fun surprise. Blake's, no, I don't think you're going to make enemies, buddy. We're going to have a clever way to do it. So Tyler's already kind of given a sneak preview. Paul Krell needs to be on everyone's list. I hate that guy. Oh, boy. LJ says this will be my first and last time that I discuss the Martez sisters. Oh, wow. Good idea. Maybe we should just leave Jar Jar alone. Oh, no. Jar Jar's not going to be on my list. I like Jar Jar. This is going to be fun, or it might be a trap. I think it'll be a fun challenge. I think we should do it. I think it'll be a fun challenge. Again, top 5 least favorite characters, or it should be least, I don't know if it's top 5, but you know what I mean. Your 5 least favorite characters. Find a constructive, intelligent, critical way to talk about what doesn't work for you about that character. I like it. That is going to be a good challenge. That's what I think we will do. Okay. Speaking of challenges, it's time to go on to our book study. Talk about Chapter 6 of the Rise of Skywalker novelization. We're really cruising through this book. Much shorter chapter, only about 10 pages or so. And it might help, again, as you're preparing for this, if you're reading along with us, which is cool. If not, if you just want to listen, that's fantastic as well. Sometimes it helps to write down things that jump out for you, or it might serve you well to write down things you have questions on, or that you want to ask me about, or you want to ask our CWK Coffee with Kenobi community about. Any of that is fine. Okay. All right, so there's not a lot in this chapter. This is basically the chapter where they're trying to escape from the tread speeders, basically, and they're off and running, trying to get away from them, trying to find the Wayfinder, so they can find the Emperor and Palpatine. So it's basically Finn and Poe on one skiff, and then Rey and BB-8 and Chewbacca on another, trying to get away. That's pretty much what the whole chapter is about. It's only 10 pages, like I said. But initially in Chapter 6, Finn's curious as to where Poe learns all these skills. How does he learn to lightspeed skip? How does he learn to hotwire this stuff? How does he learn to drive these vehicles? And it's a big mystery. This is, again, the problem, the challenge that I have with some of the narrative of this story, not the novelization. The novelization is beautifully written, and Ray Carson does a tremendous job. If we can only do what you've been given to work with, and the fact that suddenly we get in the 3rd chapter that Poe has a shady past has never worked for me. Again, if that's the way it is, that story, then great, so be it. But that personally does not work for me. I like in this description, it says the Resistance likes to keep things above board, and I do too in my personal life, of course. But I think that's an interesting way to say, usually we don't get the shady. We get people who like to do the right thing and do it in the right way for the greater good of the galaxy. So they're casting a little bit of doubt on the role of Poe. So feel free to weigh in on that and see what you think about that in his arc. But on 79, it says, when Finn is trying to aim at the different stormtroopers as they're racing around, I think it's kind of cool that, sorry, I'm looking at my notes here while I'm doing this. The tread speeder. When he's aiming at the tread speeder, it says Finn is letting his instincts guide him when firing, and that's on page 79. But that's one of the first signs of the novel where they're basically alluding to the fact that Finn might be calling on the Force without even realizing it, letting his instincts do that. And I say that because, Theo, don't think. Use your instincts. Or when Obi-Wan says to Luke in A New Hope, let go and act on instinct. That, to me, that word, much like the word hope in Star Wars, is a bit of a light bulb to us as Star Wars fans and consumers of this wonderful mythology that's going on. Again, that is another plot that just sort of dropped but at least early on, it's on the radar of things. And then on 85, Leia has this wonderful quote. It's this great moment where they're at the base and they're getting updates on what is going on. And then she gets an update that maybe things aren't going so well on Pisana. And Leia and everyone are nervous. And she says, requiring optimism doesn't mean hiding the truth. And I love that because she says, be optimistic. Do me a personal favor. Be optimistic is what is said in the movie itself. But then she says, and so then he changes things and says, oh, listen, it's great news. The Falcon, we can't get a hold of the Falcon. By the way, the Knights of Ren are there, but it's okay. And that's when she says, requiring optimism doesn't mean hiding the truth. I really like that. I think it's very clever. It's a wonderful Leia-ism, if that's such a thing, where she's like, be honest, be real with me. Don't beat around the bush. You can say things, but you can do it in a way. Just like we're going to do next week with our top 5 least favorite characters. There's an optimistic way to be honest and still be true to what you think and what's actually going on. And I really like that. And then they get to the sinking fields. And when they're going in, I'd always wondered when I watched this film, or when I read this section, why doesn't Rey use the Force? Can't she just use the Force to lift him out of the sinking fields? She berates herself and she's frustrated because this happened on Jakku all the time. And she blames herself. Well, this sand is a darker color, and this was always on Jakku. Why didn't I catch this? Why didn't I save my friends? I mean, to your right. She's basically saying to him, don't be a tool. That's exactly right. Back to Rey. She kind of is upset with herself after they make it through, and she says, why didn't I use the Force? She says, I panicked. I forgot to use the Force. So that's an interesting thing. What do people think about that? She panicked and she forgot to use the Force. One thing, it shows she's been using the Force for a very, very short amount of time. Now, naysayers will say, then why is she so powerful? Well, she's powerful because she's awesome. And she's also, again, she's human. If it's super easy to just use the Force all the time to get out of every situation, then there's never a conflict. There's no jeopardy. There's no cost. And we're not paying attention. We're not watching it. There's no, I hope they're okay kind of a moment. So you got to have that. It just kind of shows where Rey is at. And the fact that she panics and doesn't think to do it is important. Is it the best way to tell the story? I don't know. I mean, I'm open to that opinion from all of you. Mary says the book seems to hint at Finn's possible Force sensitivity. What was he going to say to Rey as they were going to that sinking fields? I mean, obviously, there's only two options. To me, it's either I think I know the Force, or I think I'm in touch with the Force, or I love you. But none of those things are ever carried through, so we don't really know. So interesting. Experience. Greg says, experience does teach. Absolutely. And Greg, good to have you on the show, man. So that's an interesting part of that as well. She does learn there. Minta says, Rey was overwhelmed on the situation. She had trouble focusing. Exactly. And she knows, and we know as an audience, if she has trouble focusing against sand, then she is going to have a really hard time against the Emperor and Kylo Ren. So it's maybe, if anything, it could be something of a wake-up call for her. I don't know. Again, I sort of wish that was contextualized in a little bit of a different way, but we shall see. Mary agrees. Those are my two thoughts as well, Dan. Yeah, awesome. And if there's another possibility, please, anybody, feel free to weigh in on what those things might be. That would be interesting as well. All right, so then at the end, Lando talks about his ship, and he looks at the Falcon, and he sees the First Order going on the ship, and they appear to take the ship, and it turns on and blasts off, and he laments seeing that and how much it pains him, and he hadn't thought about this connection he has with the Falcon and with his friends in a while, because he's been on Pisana for a while, kind of hiding out. But he talks about the fact that they, the First Order takes away everything sacred that he loves, that people love him. And he says, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I'm not going to let that happen. So we got to wait until Chapter 7 to find out what that is. Tyler says she did take the last name Skywalker. Having issues with sand runs in that family. Tyler, that might be the quote of the night. Well done. Well done indeed. It is coarse and gets everywhere, as we know. Very good. So anything on that one? That's a really short chapter. I don't think there's a ton to analyze in that chapter, quite honestly. It's just basically a chase sequence with a couple of things about the Force. Again, I think we could debate Rey having that kind of a doubt. I think she would have that kind of a doubt, and it shows that she's human. It shows that she's scared, and that's why. So maybe it does work. That's why she's battling with the dark side. That's why she is worried about that allure, that pull of the dark side, and how it's frightening. And of course, fear clouds everything. It clouds your judgment. It makes you do things in a different way. Think about it. If you're batting, we're gonna use a sports metaphor. If you're in the batter's box and you're scared of this pitcher that's pitching at you, you're not going to hit the pitcher because you're scared. You're worried. You're overthinking it. Maybe you're overswinging, whatever you're doing. So Rey getting all caught up in nervous and panicking and worrying about her friends because Rey Carson does say, you know what, she's worried about losing her world. I finally got everybody together. I got Finn. I got Poe. I got Chewbacca. I got BB-8. And oh my gosh. And it's scary. So that's cool. That's cool. So yeah, I think I've made peace with that thanks to all of your insights. So that's great. Means is talking about Lando. He's already lost his daughter. He doesn't want to lose anything else. That is right. And they definitely allude to that. And Alex says, I do love that they kept the Lady Luck for Lando from the Legends line. That was super cool. So, interesting part here. So there's a little bit more than maybe we thought initially. Again, it's still kind of an adventure chapter. Either way, it's good. So next week we're going to look at chapter 7. Again, we're going to keep to this just one chapter a week thing. And it's only 14 pages. It's not much longer. This chapter 6 was 10. So chapter 7 is going to be 14. So that'll be good. Hopefully you all again are enjoying this. I'm not sold on continuing doing a book study because I feel like this kind of slows the conversation down. If we were all in a classroom together, then it'd be like fast and furious, and my goodness, it would be so much fun. So I'm not 100% convinced I'm going to keep doing a book study after we finish the Rise of Skywalker novelization, but if you want to do it, we'll do it. But I'm also open to trivia, conversing, any other kind of stuff that you want to talk about. These top 5s are gold as well. So let me know. It's very, very cool. So I like what Jim had said earlier. Why don't we do, again, we'll do top 5 least favorite characters next week, and then the week after we'll do overall costumes in general, because my goodness, that is a lot. That is, you're going to be really hard pressed to find 2 top 5s that are the same with top 5 overall costumes. So good. I like that. Next week we'll do least favorite characters, and then after that we'll do favorite costumes. Very, very good. All right, so it's time to Ask Dan Z. Got something going on in the world of Star Wars. Want me to address stuff that's going on in the news. Want me to address what's going on with the theme parks. Got questions about podcasting. Anything. Feel free to jump on while we've got a few minutes and ask away. And as always, if you think of something that you want to ask me, then be sure to chime in and let me know. Or just write it down, and then next week we'll be sure to address it. Don't forget, speaking of asking me questions, I'm getting a lot of great questions about the Star Wars book written by myself, Pablo Hidalgo, and Cole Horton, coming out October 20th. Is available to pre-order on Amazon.com. Oh man, I can promise you when this comes out, you're going to have a lot of questions. That is going to be great, great fun. Okay. So Tyler says doing a Zoom chat in a different night for a book study would be fun. That would be fun. I thought about that. That would be very intense. I've been thinking about that. Mary says, what do you think about the supposedly long stretch before we get to the next movie? You know, honestly, Mary, what I worry about, because we have to wait until 2002, I like the change. I like having to wait because I like that anticipation. And I think Star Wars benefits more from long waits between films. I mean, it certainly worked with the original trilogy and the prequels. So I'm okay with that. The thing that I'm worried about, Mary, is that we haven't gotten any word of anything because people can't film. They can't shoot because of things going on with COVID in the world today. Hopefully by the time, I mean, the good news is before they were going to shoot anyway, which they wouldn't start shooting for a while, you got to do all the pre-production stuff and the casting and the script and getting the visuals and all that other stuff. So that is good. That's really good. So they can still be working on all that. So hopefully it will not cause a delay. And we'll still get that 2020 22 release. And I'm sure that's why Celebration is going to come out then as well. Jim says, I'm pumped to talk about the 5 costumes. It'll take 2 weeks anyhow to put together my list. Very good. Very good, Jim. I'm glad. I'm looking forward to your list. And there's actually some great books about costuming as well. So we'll have to look through that. Greg says, how do we feel about Jedi Temple Challenge? Does Mason like it? So Mason loves it. He loves it. We've been excited about that for a while. He wants to be a contestant. So Lucasfilm, if you're listening, Mason will be happy to be in season 2. And I like it. I think it's fun. Personally, I think it would be cool if every episode were different challenges and different adventures for the contestants to be a part of, like how Double Dare was. But, I mean, it's working. People seem to love it. The kids love it. So that's kind of where I am at. Ross says, your thoughts on Mark Hamill still being disappointed about his intro scenes from A New Hope hitting the cutting room floor. Just talked again with the Russo brothers. I know. What a great connection. What a great connection. I think that's fine. I know that Hamill is very honest and vocal, but tactful about his opinions on stuff. And I think that's interesting. That's his way. He would have told the story. I mean, what do you think about it, Ross? I'd be interested to hear what you think as well. And I think as he's talking about this stuff, he's critical of it without being sort of criticized. When you're being critical about something, it's okay to disagree, not to be disagreeable. And he's not being disagreeable. Just like, I like those scenes. I like the work on that. I wanted to do that and put that. I wanted that in the movie, and didn't show up. I don't know. It's so hard to think about A New Hope having Luke's intro any different way. I personally think the intro is perfect the way that it is. Well, that's because that's what we're used to, or what? I don't know. But that's a great question, Ross. Alex already pre-ordered his copy. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. So did my mom. So did my family too. Mita, what if we did a Facebook video group chat for the book study? See, that might be kind of cool too. Or we could just kind of focus on that. For me, the biggest challenge is time. And because I already have to do stuff for the podcast 3 or 4 nights a week anyway. But there's definitely got to be something we can do. Jeff pre-ordered his. Thanks, man. I love it. I love it so much. That's so cool. Tim says, do you ever think they'll bring Thrawn to the big screen, not just his portrayal in Star Wars roles? Well, Tim, I hope so. Because he's a fantastic character. He would be very fascinating to see him on the big screen. I feel like whoever portrayed him would chew up scenery. He'd be great. Greg says he likes the movie build up rather than right on top of each other. Yeah, me too. And I think that was what the challenge was Solo and The Last Jedi as well. The in-between really works really well. If one character could get a show on Disney Plus, who would you want? Well, Cad Bane, of course. I think he'd be cool. I think one around Bouche and like seeing Leia get to comfortable in that bounty hunter costume and kind of learning how to walk in those footsteps so she could rescue Han Solo would be great. In fact, Disney Plus, imagine a Disney Plus series where they recast Han, Luke, and Leia and Lando, and it was like showing how they got between A New Hope and Empire. I know they're doing that in the comic book series, and it's really, really great, but that would be really fun. LJ wants to know how much fun is it to record with Drew Taylor. You never know what you're going to get with that guy, and I mean that in a good way. You know what, LJ, it is fun. It's great, and he's pretty fun, and the more I've gotten to know him, the less challenging it is. Because with some people that you interview, you never know what they're going to do, what they're going to say, or how long they're going to talk, or if they're not going to say anything at all. And Drew and I have been such good friends. We talk pretty much every day, text-wise anyway. So, it is a blast. There's definitely a lot of laughs before and after, too, but I appreciate your support, and he's a fun guy. I can't wait to introduce you to him someday. Ross, I appreciate his passion and thirst for storytelling. I do too. Isn't it cool, Ross, that Mark Hamill is just so well-rounded? I mean, he's got the voice work. He's a terrific actor. I mean, look what he does in The Empire Strikes Back. I could go on and on about that. But yeah, he really understands story and storytelling. And I think that's one of the reasons why he's such a good actor. And Ross, totally agree. Mary says, Greg, yes, I agree. A movie every year was too much. It is. It's just Star Wars needs to kind of breathe. And I think Star Wars benefits from being super epic. Super epic. I think I can describe it better than that. But I think it benefits from that weight and us getting excited about it. Tyler says, what creature would you want to keep as a pet? I want an army of porgs. Ooh, porgs would be good. Certainly, Baby Yoda would be fun, but I wouldn't think of Baby Yoda as a pet because he's much more sentient. I think a Tauntaun would be great. Can you imagine? Like, we have a pretty long driveway, so imagine I could get in a Tauntaun and ride up when it's cold out or snowing and get the mail. Boy, that would be fun. That's my vote, a Tauntaun for sure. Alex, what other stories would you like to be told that hasn't yet been told in Star Wars? Honestly, Alex, that's a great question. I'd like to see the story of how Maz Kanata gets Luke's lightsaber. I'd really like to see a lot more about Luke's teaching of Ben Solo and him starting that Jedi Order. And if we ever got to see that, years in the future or whenever, I liked it. I would like to see that as a miniseries on Disney Plus or as a film. I feel like that's that big of a story. So I think that would be great. Anything in the era of Star Wars Rebels I really like. I think that's cool. It'd be great to see more about Kanan's adventures. It'd be great to see more of maybe how Zeb encounters the Hera and Kanan. That would be a lot of fun. But no, the big ones for me have always been seeing Luke and Ben together. That would be really fun. And then see what happened with the lightsaber of Luke's. Mita says a Lothcat would be fun to have, or a Lothwolf. A Lothcat would be fun, and a Lothwolf could be scary if you really couldn't control them, but yikes. Those would be cool. And you could ride around on them and stuff. And then Mary says, yes, Maz Kanata, that would be great. Oh, man, so fun. Well, gosh, I love it. I love all these questions. I love all the thought you have all put into everything. I'm looking forward to next Monday night speaking with all of you at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. This week on Coffee with Kenobi, we're going to have Frank Mulder and Greg McLaughlin of the Rebel Base Card, and we're going to talk about Star Wars and our community, what we can do to build our community, what we love about our Star Wars community, and how we can continue to make it a very positive place. And I'm going to pick their brains about some Star Wars stuff too. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Again, speaking of fun, we just talked about it, but it's worth mentioning again. Pardon my bias, but the Star Wars book available October 20th, 2020. Written by myself, Pablo Hidalgo, and Cole Horton. Very much looking forward to seeing what you all think about that. If you like Coffee with Kenobi, let everybody know on Twitter that you're listening. Let everybody know that you're watching Facebook Live. Like the page, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and give us a review on iTunes. Everything you do makes a big difference and helps us spread the word about this show, which helps to grow and foster this wonderful, positive Star Wars community that we have. It's great. It's great fun, and it's because of what you all do. So please spread the word and let everybody know. It means the world to me. It helps so much. Tyler says, my brother wants a Lothcat. He didn't know they were sold them at Galaxy's Edge. It blew his mind when I showed him. Yes, those things are super cute. Jim says, it sounds like a great episode. I can't wait to listen. Well, thanks, man. I can't wait to have you listen to it as well. LJ says, great show as always. I always look forward to hearing Frank. I look forward to seeing Frank later this week. I do too. It's going to be fun to have him on. Ross says, thanks, Dan. Bright Suns. Friends, have a great week. Thank you, my friend. My goodness, I much chatting with all of you on Facebook Live. We're having so much fun. Tyler says, your top 10 songs on Pour Over was an amazing discussion. Well, thank you for bringing that up. And Colby echoes that. If you aren't a patron, sign up. Pour Over's goal. Thank you. It's really fun to do. We've been doing our top 5s. We just did our top 10. We broke it up into 10 through 6 and then 5 through 1 on CWK Pour Over of our top 5 favorite songs. We had a great time with that. It's so much fun. I mean, the community, again, is so fun. We're also supportive of each other, and I really appreciate it so much. Mary says, thanks, Dan. Have a great week, everybody. See you Monday. Awesome. I look forward to it, Mary. Thanks again, and good chatting with you on Twitter this week. Jeff, LJ, thank you. Appreciate that. Blake, you are welcome. Jeff, you are welcome. It's so much fun to chat with each and every one of you. We will see you next week. Everybody have a wonderful week and weekend. Have a good week, and may the Force be with you. Absolutely. And have a great 4th of July. Don't get too close to those fireworks. Enjoy them. I mean, my family's going to be watching Hamilton on Disney Plus. We're excited for that too. Very excited to see all of you share and celebrate the 4th of July. I've got my 4th of July Star Wars t-shirt. I'm going to be wearing that for next week as well. This is indeed the way. That Tyler and Tim, thank you, my friend. Everybody, again, have a great week. We will see you next time. May the Force be with you.